Hey there, Lysandra Everett here, the Millionaire Mill Spouse. And the video I want to share with you now is about the days following my daughter's death. In a previous video, I talked about the day it happened, and it's the days following that you just have to get through. Now, I'll be really honest with you. There are really about 2 weeks of my life that I'm not sure that I remember everything that happened. So if you find that if you don't remember something, or you're walking around in a fog, it's normal. The days immediately following her death, are just fuzzy. I remember that day. I remember finally leaving the hospital and going home to my mother's house. I didn't go to my own apartment at that time. But I remember having to start telling people. I already had to tell my mom. Then I had to tell my younger brother. And it was hard for him. It was hard for him because he was, he would have been about 15 at the time. And I don't care how much other stuff he screwed up in life at that time for a 15-year-old. He was always so good with her, and he always cared for her, and he loved on her. And I remember one day he had her in his room, and she was laying on his bed, and he was playing video games with his friends, and he would play his video game, and he would pause, and I'm looking at this through a cracked door. He would play his video game and pause, and then look over at her, make sure she was doing okay, and then go back and play his video game and pause, and look back at her, make sure she's doing okay. It was really, it was really kind of cute. We're talking about a 15-year-old boy at the time. And then, so he and my younger sister, Trina, they came home at different times from school. And so I had to tell him. And then she had actually been out playing that day. She was off. We were we lived on a military base. So, for your, she might have been, I think she might have been 10 at the time, right around 10 years old. But anyway, she had been gone all afternoon. But anyway, so when she got home, I remember my mom asking if I wanted my mom to tell her. And I said, no, I'll tell her myself. And so she came busting in the house, ponytails flying, and and then she saw the look on our faces, and she knew something was wrong. And so I saw her look around, and she said, "Where's Smooch?" That was my baby's nickname. Her name was Smooch. And I had to tell her, I said, she's gone. She's like, no, gone where? And I said, Smooch died. And I think that was the hardest person I had to tell, because she was a very proud little young auntie. And to have to tell her that her only niece had died was very hard, and it was hard on her. And and I tried to console her and to be there for her as much as I could, because even though I was feeling all this pain and anguish, she was 10. And I thought, how unfair is it for a 10-year-old little girl to have to feel that sort of pain. But I had to share that with her, and tell her. And from the time she died, Lomas died March 11th, 1992, and her funeral was on March 16th. Yeah, March 16th. And so, I think about that, like that's, really only 4 days, but it went by in a flash. I mean, I really don't, I really don't remember all that happened with that, but I remember that, like I said, I worked at First Union Bank at that time, and there was such an outpouring of support. They knew I was a young mom. They knew that I didn't have any money, and so how was I going to pay for, for funeral expenses? I didn't know any of that stuff, and so there was a wonderful woman. Her name is Brenda, and I'm sorry, Brenda, I don't remember your last name right now, but she organized a fundraiser for me, and people donated money to me, and I have to show this to you guys, because I kept a copy of all of the checks of the people who there you go, who donated, because I never wanted to forget them. I didn't want to forget the people that helped me during that time, because at that time I didn't know what to do. I remember, I remember having to, within the next couple of days, having to help make funeral arrangements. I had to figure out what she was going to wear. I had to, I didn't, where was she going to be buried? And it was so much stuff that I had to get through, because I was her mom, and that was my job. And I think preparing, in the natural order of things, we prepare for our parents to die. Our parents go through and do the due diligence and plan, what they, where they're going to be buried and all that stuff, so their kids don't have to worry about it. But, having to do that for your child is, it's tough. It's really tough. But during that time, I really didn't have to bear any of that financial burden, which was so beautiful, and I will always be grateful to everybody that contributed to that. The cemetery where she's buried is Mount Olive Memorial Gardens in Augusta, Georgia, and they actually they donate the plot for kids who have died from SIDS. I think they said up to age 7 or something. But so I didn't have to bear that expense, and it was such a relief, because it was enough to try to get through the day. I think my mother said I don't think I ate for a week, and I remember there were people that came to visit me, and I was just kind of there. People, try to comfort me as much as possible, but there's no comfort for that. There just isn't. So the day of the funeral, it was such an outpouring of support, and I was so surprised at how many people came to her funeral. There were people there that I didn't even know that knew my child through my mom, And so I turn around and I see this church full of people who knew and loved my child in some kind of way, even though I didn't know them myself. The chaplain that buried her, well, that performed her funeral arrangements was Chaplain Woodbury at Fort Gordon, and I remember his name and I kind of remember his face, but I've never seen him since that day. So I remember at some point following her death, I went back to my apartment and I lost it. That was just the beginning of me really losing my mind. I just remember leaving and coming back one day, and I walked into my room and I looked at, I think it was my boyfriend and my mom at the time, and I'm like, what in the world happened here? And they said, you. And I had totally destroyed everything. I had turned over furniture. I had ripped things out of the closet. But I don't really remember doing any of it. It was, I just don't remember. I just really don't remember. I kind of have a foggy memory, but just being vivid and clear, I don't have that. So I know I remember feeling of course the first feeling is hurt and despair, but then at some point it turned to anger, and I destroyed a lot of things, but nonetheless it was like a tornado had gone through my apartment, and that tornado was me. Yeah. So, I think I'll end this one here and get it together, because that's, that's just what happened to me. And I don't know if you're watching this and this may have just happened to you, but I just want to tell you that you might not feel like it now, but you'll make it. You will make it through. You just take it one day at a time, and you'll make it through. Okay. All right, I'll just see you on the next video. Bye.